Hello, I'm Grace Shimatsu, Project Coordinator with the Speedy Foundation, and here with me today is Miss Idaho USA, Hannah Menzner. Hannah, thank you so much for sharing your time, experience, and safe messaging expertise. I and others from across the state will be rooting for you at Miss USA 2023. So Hannah, as the founder of Project Idaho, which is focused on teaching Idahoans to spot the warning signs and risk factors for suicide, and to be able to start caring conversations when someone is in need, can you tell us why this is such an important topic to you and why you've chosen this as your platform as Miss Idaho USA?
Yeah, I think suicide is a pretty big challenge in the state of Idaho. We lose at least one Idahoan to suicide each day. And what inspired me to get involved was my experience volunteering for a crisis hotline for 4 years. And during that time, I spoke with several individuals who were seriously considering suicide and were struggling in general with their mental health. So that experience inspired me to start volunteering with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention as an education volunteer. And now with the Speedy Foundation and as the founder of Project Idaho, I utilize social media as a way to teach those within our community how to start that caring conversation, to fight the stigma surrounding mental health, and to reach out to the resources we have available in our state.
Thank you so much, and thank you for all your support and all of those services as well. Sadly, last February, former Miss USA Chesley Chris died by suicide. From your perspective, how was news of her death handled in the media?
Yes, I remember hearing the reports of her death about a year ago, and it was incredibly shocking. The first few articles that came out were from popular gossip sites, and they really sensationalized her death. They described the way in which she died in pretty concrete detail, and even included some photos from the scene of her death that were pretty disturbing. And as someone who has volunteered with suicide prevention and who knew a little bit about safe reporting at the time, I was pretty appalled by what I was seeing. And I was really concerned for the people around me in the pageant community and the Miss USA community who were reading these articles and were feeling very disturbed and upset by what they saw. To this day, I think I'm still affected by what I read and what I saw. And as a volunteer, I speak with so many people who have lost someone to suicide who are considering suicide. So for this to really still be affecting me after all this time really goes to show that it was done in a way that was not responsible. And if you Google her death today, a lot of those sensationalized articles have been removed, which is good, but there still are some that really focus on the lethal means, which we now know is what you should not do, and that focus on just how surprising it was that someone as successful as Chesley could die by suicide. And it's since come to light that she had high-functioning depression, but it was also a mistake to focus on that surprise. Instead, I think the messages could have been a lot more around hope and around how to help someone get the help that they need if they're going through something similar. So I think going forward, we can do a much better job when reporting on celebrity deaths and high-profile deaths by suicide.
Absolutely. And going off of that a little bit, I listened to your interview with 98.7 WMZQ shortly after her passing, where you explained that how we talk about suicide in the media really does matter. Could you elaborate a bit on the importance of modeling appropriate language, specifically in the media, and why this is such a crucial aspect of suicide prevention?
Yeah. Well, in the media, it's where we all learn about that death firsthand, right? Even if you didn't know the person, you may read about it in the media, and that offers some opportunity. There's some bad opportunities there. That is the opportunity to contribute to contagion, where the way we talk about a suicide can actually lead to increased risk in others for suicide. So when we use that graphic account of the event, when we use those graphic images and really kind of focus on the negative, that can increase the risk for contagion and the idea that others may attempt suicide following this death or this attempt. On the other hand, using more responsible reporting. So instead of saying committed suicide, saying died by suicide, or kind of not alluding to the means in general, but instead focusing on the aspects of that person's life in the report. That I think is really, really helpful and a more safe way to report on suicide. It's not that we're trying to sweep a suicide under the rug or contribute to that stigma by trying to hide it in any way. It's just trying to report on it in a way that doesn't over sensationalize it and instead celebrates that person's life without focusing too much on the specific means by which they died. So I think that's really important. I also think that safe reporting should include resources available to those who also may be struggling with their mental health or considering suicide. So including the 988 hotline number, as well as local resources within your community. So for example, local Idaho resources in my state, that would be really helpful to include at the end of articles or throughout, so that anyone reading who may be going through a similar situation has those available.
Absolutely. Thank you. And for many individuals struggling with their mental health, reaching out to others for assistance can be extremely difficult. You just touched on this a bit with the importance of including resources in news reports, but in your opinion, what additional ways can the media strengthen their efforts to encourage help seeking and to destigmatize mental health?
Definitely by including those resources. And it doesn't even have to be just when there is a report of a suicide death or somebody high profile struggling with their mental health. I think this is something we're getting a little bit more comfortable with talking about day to day. I would love it if the media had more features and more articles surrounding Mental Health Awareness Month, which happens every May. If they